I have a fantastic guest today, John Gilvary, and his company is Painting with Finesse.
Yeah, so Painting with Fins, some people
or
call
Painting
it.
with Fins.
The actual name is Painting with Finesse. It has a funny spelling of Fin-S, just a play on the word finesse. I'm happy to be here, Kim.
So I got a visual of trying to paint with fins. So obviously the fin would be the paintbrush because a fin can't hold a paintbrush.
Absolutely. No, if you could find a shark that could paint, that would be an interesting thing. But yeah, paintbrush is what we use. We definitely don't use any fins, but it works out much better that way.
So finesse, I mean, I'm just saying, woo, we're going to paint it. And your guys did my office and did an amazing job. I mean, absolutely the cleanest paint job I've ever had done. No drips, no spills, awesome. Or nothing that I saw. I mean, if he made one little drop somewhere, he got it up before I ever saw it. But the corners were perfect. The where it meets the ceiling was amazing. And he even went behind some of the stuff that was here before and made sure that was all polished up.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that we do is preparation is key. Without proper preparation of a paint job fails.
Right.
Drips, runs, cracks, holes, none of that stuff is going to lead to a great finished product. So no matter what product you use, if you don't do the proper prep work. So that's something that we take pride in. It's something that we focus on when we get into a house. We do all of our prep work before we start painting. And it just allows us a finished product that really is finesse. At the end of the day, people want to walk into their space and feel special. And we pride ourselves on being able to do that for them.
Awesome. So, just for fun, what is one of the worst like prep things you had to get past? Like maybe a hole in the wall or somebody moved something.
So moving stuff is always interesting. Sometimes you go into homes and they're immaculate and then you move the washer and dryer and find God only knows what. Or of course the refrigerator. So those are the two big things. We always make sure that we don't shame the homeowner. We'll go in and vacuum. We'll wipe it up. We'll do whatever. But it's always funny usually to see the wife's reaction of, I can't believe that looks like that. I'm so sorry.
Under their fridge. Right. Well, we're not cleaning under the fridge.
No. And that's what I tell them. I said, if you were sleeping there, maybe I would, have a problem with that. But, wiping off of baseboards, you just don't realize how much sometimes dust accumulates. We'll pull beds out. We'll pull couches out. That's something we want to make sure that we address before we start our prep work, because there's no sense in painting a dust bunny up against the wall or on your trim. It just doesn't look right. So it's just all encompassing. We always have a vacuum with us to make sure that if there's something that we need to get off the floor or off the baseboards, we can get it taken care of.
That's awesome. That's great. So you guys are cleaning all the baseboards before you're painting, or is it?
Yeah. We have our little dusters and we go through, but no, seriously, we'll go into a room. We kind of start at the top. We always make sure that we caulk where the wall meets the ceiling. We caulk any of the corners where there may be a crack coming down. We address any holes. If a customer wants to patch all the holes, we'll pull all the hardware off, patch all the holes. If they want to leave something, a hook or a nail on the wall, we tell them to leave it there. We'll paint. We'll pull it out and paint and put it right back.
Okay.
That way they know where their artwork went or their pictures. But a lot of people are looking for that fresh, clean slate, and it really makes our job easier. We always joke around and say we charge double if you help. Because
oh my gosh, you are not kidding.
Sometimes people do their own patchwork and it takes us 3 times longer to sand and fix their help.
Right.
So, that's one of the things when I do an estimate for folks, I say to them, hey, listen, if you have breakable stuff, we ask that you would take it out of a china cabinet or something like that. But there's 5 or 6 of us that are coming to a job site. We're happy to move furniture. Don't get on a ladder. We'll take it off the plant shelf.
That's awesome.
It's just little things like that. A lot of the folks that we're dealing with, are maybe a little bit older. They're not, they're not young.
They retired and they moved to Florida for paradise.
That's it. They're hiring us to do all of their work. We might as well do their light work and their heavy work while we're at it.
There you go.
Moving beds, stuff like that. We're happy to do that. And then once we're done, obviously we're going to put it back for them so that once we're done, their house is good to go.
Fantastic. That is so awesome that you, now how long have you been in business?
I've been in Palm Coast since 2002.
Wow, that was way before the boom.
That was the beginning of
and the second boom.
Just before the first boom and the second boom. But came down, didn't really have a job. So I became a handyman. Every house I went to do handyman work, the landscaper didn't show up. So then I became the landscaper too. And then the handyman work really led into the painting work. It's something that I really enjoy doing. So had the landscaping company as well for about 10 years and got rid of that about 6 years ago. And now just full on with Painting with Finesse. We have 5 guys with over 100 years of experience. So
wow.
A lot of them have been doing it a long time. And a couple other people that we plug in here and there that have worked with us over the years to, if we have a big project or something comes up that we need to get somebody in there, then we're not available to get there.
So you're doing interior and exterior painting?
Yes, interior and exterior. Obviously, the summer times, we love to work inside due to the heat, but we do paint outside. Listen, at the end of the day, work is work and everybody needs to go to work. But both inside and outside, our favorite customers, our favorite projects are those who are looking to do both.
Oh, nice.
Because we'll either get a break from the heat if it's summertime, or if we have rain, we can go inside when we're not outside, or we can just split the crew and put half the guys inside and half the guys outside. And flip-flop days to give people a break.
So here's a question for exterior painting. Do you have to be aware of the dew point?
So dew point kind of plays a fact. I mean, it's always humid here in Florida. We have a couple of paints that we use that are relatively quick drying within 30 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if there's any type of threat of rain, obviously we're cognizant of that. We're keeping an eye on the weather app. We have an alarm that goes off if rain's within an hour of us. But we use the paint that dries quicker than normal paint. So we're able to kind of continue going even on those days where there's a rain threat or high humidity level. We're able to do that. And that paint, that works flawlessly as long as it's not pouring outside.
So you painting the exterior of the house, you also paint driveways, or is that a whole different?
Driveways, pool decks.
Oh, you do? That's awesome.
Epoxy garage floors. Yeah, kind of, what it comes down to is, when we get to a house and people want to make everything look beautiful. If the driveway doesn't look great, we have somebody come in and pressure wash before us. They pressure wash the driveway. Customer says, hey, I'd love to have that driveway painted. A lot of times customers will try and do it themselves, which sometimes it works out really well. Sometimes not so much.
Not so much.
So there are specific products that you should be using for concrete that's going to be driven on by automobiles or motorcycles, and then, that which you would have on a walkway or a pool deck, kind of 2 different products. And sometimes people will go to a big box store and purchase the wrong product, and then will call us to try and rectify that. And that's,
so what do you have to do? You have to remove it or seal it with a primer?
The reality is on a driveway, you really should be using a solvent-based product. Because if you
what does that mean? Solvent.
So solvent base is almost like an oil base. But it's
the big smells.
Yeah.
Let these guys do it.
Yeah. You really don't want to do that on yourself.
No.
They don't even sell them at the big box stores anymore because there was so many issues with it. You'd have to buy them at a Home Depot. I mean, at a Sherwin-Williams or a Benjamin Moore store.
Oh, really?
Or a Southern Bates. Yeah, because they had so many issues because they're not compatible. So a solvent base or a xylene based product and a latex based product, which is a water based product, they don't play well together.
Right. Sure. They're not going to
So if you put latex on a driveway and then you were to put a solvent over it, it's going to melt that latex right up.
Oh, wow.
And the big thing with latex on driveways, and they have some that are supposedly...
I can't even imagine a latex on a driveway. I mean,
it's great until you pull your car in with hot tires and then it melts the paint right off of it.
Oh, and then it's sticking to your car.
And that's when I get the phone call.
Like, I've never seen that before. There are really people out there doing that.
There are, here's what it comes down to. And it's funny because it's gone on now for about 10 years, but these DIY shows...
right.
They're great if you're looking for ideas,
right?
But they make things that aren't necessarily very simple look very simple,
right?
And there are some things that are simple, and there are some homeowners who could do just about anything they want at the house. Right. But there's also folks who see it maybe or hear about it or are misinformed from online or somewhere else, and then they do it and they don't take into account the practicality of it all.
Gotcha.
So. We do get some of those things, but yeah, anything that can be painted for the most part, we can paint.
Awesome.
We don't do cars and boats and motorcycles, but I have a friend. So
but I have a guy.
We can get them. We can get them taken care of. But for the most part, anything exterior or interior that needs to be painted, we can do that for them.
So, what is your biggest joy in your business?
So, my favorite moment of an exterior paint job is when a customer leaves to go to work for the day. And when they come home that same day and they drive by their own house because they don't recognize it.
No way.
It happens at least probably once every 3 months.
Really?
Somebody leaves, their house was yellow. Now we painted it gray and they just drive by, I mean, it's amazing what a difference a paint color can make in a house. And it's amazing how programmed we are as humans to look for that yellow house or that green house or that gray house. And when they drive by and I see the brake lights go on, I know what happened. It just leaves me in stitches kind of in the driveway. And it becomes a fun moment for us and the customer as well. So that's probably one of the biggest joys there. Inside, listen, we've had people that have shed tears, people that have screamed in joy.
Really?
Luckily, we haven't really had anybody who's cried or screamed in agony. over that. It might be a couple of color selections, but we can always change the color if that they decide that's not what they wanted. But it's the finished product. It's the before and after. It's the way that a paint color or a paint change, a color renovation can make people feel. That's what's the best part of the whole job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now let's talk about trending colors, because we girls, we all want to know what are the trending colors. I know gray has been, and grayish.
Gray. Yeah, gray is
like if you could do still strong.
It's still strong. The thing about gray is it's a primary color. So if you paint your house gray, any shade of gray, you can then accent it with any color.
Exactly.
It goes well with just about any color in the spectrum. Sherwin-Williams, which is generally who we use for our products, they always come out with colors of the year. I generally cringe, probably because I'm a guy, I guess. I don't know. But, color selection is one of the hardest things. And I tell people that, they'll thank me or they'll call me for an estimate. And I say to them, hey, color selection is the hardest part of this job.
Right.
Application is what it is. It's a process. We kind of do the same thing on every project, regardless of color, but finding the colors that bring joy to customers. Some people take it to an extreme. We have a customer who did
yellow?
43 samples on the outside and 56 on the inside.
Wow. So they were painting just a little swatch the whole way over?
Yeah. Luckily, in the last 6 months, I have found an interior decorator who's willing to work with customers.
Yay.
So she's willing to go out to their house, talk to them, see what their color palette tolerance kind of is, and then plug them into colors that will go well with what they have existing, from cabinets to flooring, to just about anything in the house. So that's been a huge benefit to me. I try and stay out of color selection because it always seems like the missus would like one and the mister would like another. And I'm not going to get in the middle of that.
I think that's how grayish came up, because there's gray and beige in it. And depending what you accent with is what color pulls out.
You just take 1 gallon of one and 1 gallon of the other, mix it together. Whatever color that is, you just go with it. Color selection. There's so many colors that, even when I look through the book, you get confused almost. It's mind boggling. So that is the hard part of the job. Blues, I love blues. The grays are, fantastic because they can go with anything. And some people, accent walls, you can go vivid, if you want to do a mundane color or something that's a clean color palette and then put an accent wall. It's a great way to bring some life into a room, whether it be a kitchen or a living room or a dining room or a bathroom. It's a great way to add that pop of color that maybe you don't want the whole room that color, but you're able to have that.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. So how often are you seeing accent walls, or do you suggest those to your clients?
There was a huge period of time where we were doing a lot of faux finishing and a lot of accent walls. Again, a lot of that was led by the DIY charge. All of those shows, if they were doing it, if this lady was doing it or these brothers were doing it, people wanted it. Right. Now, sometimes people will say to me, I just want a little bit of color in there. And then I can say to them, well, hey, you have artwork on the wall that has blues or reds or yellows in it. Let's tie those together with an accent wall. And the great thing about paint is that if we put something up and somebody goes, I really don't love that.
Right.
We're there. It's easy enough to paint over.
Exactly.
So, and that's what I tell people. If people are leaning towards a color that they're not sure of, we usually try and paint a sample swatch that's big enough, because the little swatches that are this big, when you put them on a wall that's 10 feet wide and 8 feet high, it oftentimes changes the look of that swatch. So sometimes color samples, sometimes if somebody wants kind of a bold color, I'll almost insist on, hey, let's paint a wall in that room, that color. So that way we know you love it before we go ahead and paint 2,000 square feet with that color.
And especially if it's a really dark color, because then it takes a lot more to cover it.
It takes a lot more to cover it, and also small into space. So the lighter you go, obviously the bigger things are going to look.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So a lot of times we'll have a house that doesn't have a lot of natural light, and people will want a color that's kind of darker on the spectrum. And my encouragement's always stay in the same family, right? But go the lightest shade in that family and see if you can live with that, because it's going to make your space look bigger.
Right.
Outside, Palm Coast has rules and regulations as far as color spectrum on what you can have. I've had some customers say to me, I don't really care what they say. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I say to them, that's fine. Here's the contract. Just make sure you make a note of that at the bottom.
Right.
Because you can. There's been instances where people have had to change the color of their exterior of their house.
Well, there's a couple, like they totally look like sports team colors. And I'm like, well, that's not usually two you'd see together unless you're the Marlins or whatever. What I mean? And it's like, how did they get away with that? Because usually Palm Coast has strict rules.
They do have rules. So, one of the great things about Palm Coast is generally, unless somebody complains about it, they're not going to leave you, they're going to leave you alone. Yeah. So I had a customer who wanted their house to look like a Key West house over in the R section.
So what color did you do for that?
Like a banana yellow and
I'm in on that. I like yellow,
blue.
sunshine.
I mean,
I like it.
The house looked absolutely fantastic, but it just didn't fit the neighborhood.
Right.
But very well liked in the neighborhood. Everybody was thrilled for the most part, except for a couple of people with it. And to this day, that was probably 8 or 10 years ago. It still remains that color. So.
Oh, that's so cool. I'll have to drive by there and take a look
It's just always it's always something that I want a customer to understand is that, there are rules and regulations on the outside. Inside, we've done it all from Pepto-Bismol pink to fire engine red to you name it.
Of course, kids always are going to get that. What color do you want to a kid? And they're going to pick something.
Kid rooms are fun. The funny thing that we get a lot of times with kid rooms is people think it's a good idea to let the kids try and paint it first.
Oh.
So it's interesting to have to go back in after that and address the prep work that wasn't done in the first place. So.
Or the drips or
they're changing the carpet, thankfully, but kid rooms are always fun. It's great to see the reaction that kids have. We did a recent project for a friend of ours. It was a surprise for their daughter's birthday.
Oh, nice.
So we went in and repainted her room while she was at school that day. And then I got the video from the customer that evening of the daughter's reaction when she walked in the room. So it was great. It was, she left and it was one way and she came back, it was a totally different way and she was thrilled with it. So it was that was a cool paint job.
Awesome. So how long does it take to paint? So you said you have a crew of 5 guys to paint let's say an average 3 to 1,900 square feet or 1,800 square feet, we're doing the whole interior.
So
how long does that take?
Interior, probably anywhere between 3 and 5 days, depending upon.
Really?
Yeah,
less
depending
than
upon
a week.
Level of prep work, color selection. Are we doing the ceilings? Are we just doing the walls? Are we doing the walls and the trim? Prep work usually takes us a half a day, depending upon, in a 2,000 square foot house, about a half a day. And then if we're doing ceilings, we try and start the ceilings and get those done first. We kind of try and work our way from the top down. So it would be ceilings, then walls in that room. And then once the walls are done, we put somebody in trim. And we try and kind of systematically move through people's homes so that we're not totally displacing them.
Right.
Today we're going to work on the spare bathroom and the 2 bedrooms and the hallway. And then you'll have a space tomorrow that you can go into, and then we can get into the master and the main living area and the laundry room, stuff like that. So we try and systematically move through so that people aren't totally displaced.
And that's where experience comes in.
It's great. Yeah. We're able to have an idea, and we're able to kind of let people know, like, listen, tomorrow we're going to be in the kids' bedrooms. If you want the closets painted, let's make sure we have everything out of the closets so we can paint those first, so that at the end of the day, we can put everything back. Everybody has their bed space back. Everybody has their living space back. And then tomorrow we can focus on a different area.
So how many marriages have you saved by going in and doing the painting instead of the homeowners?
I've definitely made some people happy. I actually had a customer recently that we painted we painted the exterior a couple of years ago, and they called me. The wife called me, and she said, "Hey, we're thinking about doing it ourselves. My husband's recently retired, and I did a couple of closets because I wanted to get those done before you came, and we're thinking about doing the whole thing." So it was about a year ago, and I recently got an update, a text message from her, letting me know how encouraged she was by my message of me letting her know, hey, you can do this, you got this, because they took their time, right? So they did the prep work the way that needed to be done. Right. They took their time. They were able to kind of, again, systematically move through at a slightly different pace. But the pride that they took in doing it was the best part. Right. It was really a simple paint job. And that's what I told you. You have no high ceilings. It's a simple paint job. As far as saving marriages and us doing the work, I've never had a husband begrudgingly give me a check. They're usually glad to hand it to me. Right. And the wife always says, okay, what are we painting next? Which is great.
Oh,
so
that's
we did the inside.
great,
now we need the outside.
Yes.
Being in business for 20 years now here, we're starting to get those repeat customers. So we're starting to get those people who we painted for. Their kids are now grown. They're away at college. And now they want to make that place their sanctuary again without the children. And we're able to go back in and either change colors, get rid of that purple bedroom, get rid of that pink bedroom. They're looking to have an actual guest suite where they can have friends or family members come stay and not have to wear sunglasses.
So that first couple that you coached and told them, yes, you could do it. We should probably get them on for a marriage counseling show that they can teach people.
I offered them a job, and they declined. Okay. But they were honored that I would consider bringing them back. It was just great. They were great people to work for, and it was fun to get a progress report every couple of months on. Oh, we got this done, we got that done, and being familiar with the house. It was just a fantastic experience.
That's awesome. Okay, so one other one, and wallpaper. So we don't see a huge amount of wallpaper here in Florida. It's probably because of the high moisture content. So what happens if somebody wants to paint and they're like, hey, just paint over that wallpaper? What do we do in that situation? Are you removing it? Are you?
Yeah. So very rarely do we paint over it, only for the fact that oftentimes when you moisten wallpaper, it tends to peel. So we usually take it down. Now to go along with taking it down, there's always the issue of who put it up. Some people put it up so that it never comes down. Which is great if you wanted to leave it up, but not so great if you want to take it down. Right. Then there's people who maybe it's a DIY, or maybe it's somebody who didn't use the proper paste or use the proper amount of paste, and it's easy to get off. So my thing to folks with wallpaper is absolutely we can get it off, but I won't know what kind of work is left behind until we get it down. Yep. Sometimes I can strip a bathroom in 2 hours, and I've had times where it took us 2 days. Yep. We work with a couple of drywall contractors here who are fantastic at coming in and either slicking those walls back out if you're going to go back with a wallpaper, or texturing those walls to match the rest of the walls in the house. We also have a gentleman that we work with who does wallpaper, has been installing wallpaper for 30 years. So a lot of the higher end homes, they want to stand out from the neighbors. Right. So they're doing wallpaper, and they're doing crazy expensive wallpaper. Their designers are ordering it. And the gentleman that we have can go in there and hang it. And he's tried to show me multiple times how to do it.
How to install the wallpaper?
He claims it's easy. I don't know. It's like talking a foreign language to me. but it really is a cool way to accent a room if you don't want to do an accent wallpaper. And it ebbs and flows. There was a period of time where it's really hot, where we were doing 1 or 2 homes a month, multiple rooms and wallpaper. Now it's usually an accent wall. Once in a while, a powder room they'll do wallpaper in, but we can put it up, we can take it down. We have experience with that. And at the end of the day, some people love it and some people hate it. And it's just a personal preference. Awesome.
So if you are looking to freshen up your home, you were telling me about a certain date. Like if your house was built after 2005, 2003.
Yeah. So a lot of what
around in that time period.
A lot of what we're seeing is homes that were built in that boom. So from 2002 to 2009, that have original paint on them. So, we live in Florida. It's blazingly hot in the summer. For the most part in the winter, it's still warm, constant humidity. The sun's beating down on it. It breaks down the paint. Generally, a new home is not painted with the best quality paint. It's painted with a builder grade paint. You might get 7 to 10 years out of it. If you're lucky, 15. So now we're talking, some of these homes are 20 years old with original paint on them. One of the ways that you can tell that your house is ready for paint is if you touch it and it looks like you just wiped off a blackboard at school, and you have paint all over your hand, that paint has failed.
Wow.
And the biggest thing about that is if the paint has failed, every time it rains, whether it's raining straight up and down or a driving rain, that moisture is now penetrating into your concrete block home. Once it penetrates your concrete block, the next is gets to your insulation or your drywall or your carpets. Right. So, protecting your biggest investment, if you have cracks, if your sprinklers are hitting the house and you're noticing some moisture in the house because of cracks, or if your paint is faded and failing and you can actually wipe it off, it needs to be addressed, because the next issue is water intrusion. And now we're talking about, instead of just having the home painted, you're dealing with a whole nother set of circumstances.
So on the exterior of the home, you're saying if you put your hand on it and any residue comes off, your paint has failed, and it is absolutely time to call Painting with Finesse.
Absolutely. If you have chalk on your fingers, you should be dialing your phone with your clean hand.
So now there's different types of paint. You got eggshell and matte and semi-gloss and high gloss. What is the typical type of paint that should go on the exterior of a house?
So we do about 95% of our homes exterior in satin. Okay. It has a great fit and finish. It has a slight sheen to it, which looks fantastic. I think it makes the house look richer. It brings out the stucco texture and the accents on the house. It also is much easier to clean. Just like you would put semi-gloss inside, on the outside, you'd use the satin. And if you get something that splashes up on the house, it's easy to rinse off with a hose. Some people are adverse to sheen. They do have flat exterior paint. That's generally what new homes are painted with, because it's $1 a gallon cheaper, and that's just what they're going with.
Wow.
But my recommendation is always satin, as long as people aren't adverse to a sheen. Semi-gloss gets a little funny. How shiny do you want the outside of your house to be? That's what that comes down to. You know what I mean? And most people defer to us on a recommendation. So I would say 95% of our exteriors are satin. On the interior, it comes to personal preference, right? Flat's great. It shows less imperfections in your walls. If you have a house that's had people that put tons of stuff up on the walls and they've had those terrible repairs that are impossible to fix,
right?
And you put eggshell or a satin on the wall, you're going to notice those a lot more than if you put a flat. If you have dogs or children, you almost have to have an eggshell or a satin, because your walls are going to be wipeable. Generally, your kitchen, your bathrooms, your laundry room, you're going to want those in satin. They're able to be wiped. There's going to be stuff that gets on the walls. It's just inevitable. And then trim, semi-gloss. Big fan of semi-gloss on the trim.
I love the shine on that.
Yeah, it has a great fit and finish on it. It makes any color you put on the walls pop. Some people don't like traditional white. They go with other colors on their trim. Again, it's just personal preference. There's a lot of personal preference that gets involved in color selection. To me, I just need to know. I just need to know the colors. It's not a big deal to us. If you're going to go with a dark color, obviously it's going to take multiple coats. So it's going to affect a price from a pricing standpoint. But we've had some black trim that we've done that just rocked inside of a house.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Black.
Higher end home.
Wow.
Crown molding, chair rail, doors. We used it
was the whole house?
The whole
was
house.
It gray paint? What was the base color?
It was a light gray paint, and they wanted black. They loved black. They had black cars, and they wanted black trim. And I was fearful of how it was going to look, but it did. It was fantastic.
It was like a black semi-gloss. So it was shiny.
It was black semi-gloss.
Ooh,
yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Did you have pictures of that?
I do. I do.
Oh
Yeah, I'll bring some in.
I'll bring some in.
Yeah, no, fantastic fit and finish. Traditionally white. White is one of those colors that when it's clean, it looks clean. It'll pop off any color you choose, and it just looks classic. Really, is what it looks like.
So I have one more question about somebody who had, let's say, over the past year or two, we know that there was a big housing boom here in Flagler County. A lot of brand new houses being built. Yeah. And one of the things that I noticed that when you're inside of one of the new homes, the builder's grade paint that they use is like, if you touch the wall, like it absorbs the oil. Like it is so dry and just like chalk. And it absorbs the oil from your hand, and now there's a little fingerprint there, and it's crazy.
So we don't do any new construction painting as a company. We did some for a couple of different projects, and my biggest thing with it is we work really hard to make things look fantastic. And we did those projects, we made them look fantastic, and then somebody came in and messed it up. And then it was a callback.
Because when they were installing the carpet,
the floor,
or
the trim,
like that,
the electricians, and there's kind of two different sets of painters, and there's no differentiation as far as who they are. Just some people like new construction and some people like, residential and commercial repaints. We fall into that category. New construction is kind of get it up as fast as you can, as cheap as you can.
Oh, especially
as quick
this
as you
past
can.
year.
And, the materials that they use are obviously not the same materials that we're going to use as a residential repaint contractor. We've gone in and for some customers of ours who have built new homes and have wanted a higher end paint, and the builder's price was just astronomical because you become accustomed to using a certain type of paint. So we use a higher end paint. We're accustomed to that. When we use a lower end paint, if we're forced to for some reason, it takes 3 times as much work, and it looks half as good. So, we'll go into a new home. We'll do some of the prep work that maybe got skipped or maybe was done improperly. We're able to go in there, re-prep the house, and then put a quality top coat on there, hopefully before the people move in. So some people will buy a place. Before they move down, we can get in there. We can do whatever they want, change the color selection. Most new homes are pretty monochromatic. They pick one color. For a while, they were doing the ceilings, the walls, the trim, everything was one color. We can go in there and we can make the master bedroom one color and the guest suite one color and the living room or the kitchen or whatever. And we have a pool of contractors that we work with that if you're looking to do upgrades, it's going to be cheaper to do upgrades after the fact.
Outside,
I know it's not figured into the mortgage price per se, but we can do it after the fact and bring you what you're looking at a better price point and definitely a better quality.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with everyone today?
No, just, to the Palm Coast community, we thank you. We've been here since 2002. We've painted thousands of homes at this point, and it's great to come back and see those familiar faces, those folks who are calling us back. We love what we do. The guys and I have a fantastic crew. And if you know somebody looking for a job that's a painter, we're always looking for help. Awesome.
Well, I want to thank you, John Gilvary, for being on the show
Thanks
today.
for having me here. The office looks great.
Thank you. Well, you guys did a fantastic job, man. You guys did an amazing job. And everything that I have seen firsthand, the high quality of the work, the cleanliness, and all of that has just been very, very impressive. But then also hearing from other people who have used you in the past.
Sure.
They've all been very impressed and very thankful.
Yeah,
so
we love that. Customer testimonials are the best. 95% of our business is referral business. And it's just a nice way to do business. People are already comfortable with who we are and what we are. Mm-hmm. And that makes everybody's life easier at the end of the day. So
one of the most important things for me in business is integrity. Absolutely. And your company has that. And I'm just thankful to be a friend of yours. And I'm so glad that you came in for an interview today.
Thank you for having me. It's been fantastic. We appreciate you.
Awesome.
Thanks, my friend.
You're welcome. Everyone have a great day.
A good one, guys.